Hey guys, it's Rachel. It is a Monday. I can't remember what we call our videos on a Monday. Marvellous Monday maybe. I'm sorry I didn't get my video up on Thursday. Things have been really busy in the past kind of week or so. So I'm making the video today. Obviously it's been Easter weekend and that was really busy as well. So I wanted to find the time today to make the video because I think it is a really important topic. First of all, I do want to show you, have you seen how beautiful my poppies are? And also, look at this, my friend bought me it. Chocolate fund. How good is that? So, yes. Anyway, I hope you've all had a lovely Easter. We had a really nice time. We just kind of had dinner as a family. And I saw some really good friends over the weekend. I caught up with Tracy, had a really nice day looking after one of my close friends' little boy, and yeah, things have just been really good actually. I'm busy in a kind of good way, and I guess next week is kind of back to the grind with regards to university and studying. Today I wanted to talk about self-identity and identity again. I wanted to look at it with regards to therapy. In the first week we looked at it with regards to sexuality and helping understand who we are, how we are, and if we have these feelings, if we're confused about our sexuality, where that kind of stands us and where that sits us with regards to how we understand ourselves. And last week we spoke about emotional abuse and how that can throw our own self-identity sort of into crisis really, and how to rebuild that back up. And today I wanted to talk about therapy, and how when we go into therapy there's numerous reasons why we may go into therapy, but how one of the biggest things that therapy can give us is this ability to build up who we are, build up a sense of self that's maybe been destroyed by abuse or trauma or eating disorder or mental health problems or loss of like a loved one or anything, like how basically all unique to us that something can basically hit us to the ground and leave us with nothing but rubble, and how we build that up. And that's the kind of metaphor that I've been given in therapy, that you know, the impact of a number of different things throughout my childhood, sort of culminating in being raped, and then the development of an eating disorder, which then led on to self-harm issues, depression issues, all sorts of different diagnoses, and how then you sit there with all of that and you have nothing. You are fractured as a person, you've done harm to yourself, you've maybe isolated yourself, you've maybe pushed absolutely everybody away, that your life is more of an existence than an experience. The end result of issues with eating disorders, mental health problems, not necessarily an end result, but often have some form of a crash. That doesn't mean that can't be built up. Not everybody knows the bottom, not everybody gets to the bottom. Somebody can take 15 years and hit the bottom and then recover. In my experience, hitting the bottom happened quite quickly. It was very gradual and then very sudden. And when my depression left me pretty much catatonic and unable to move, wash, talk, communicate, I wasn't eating, I wasn't doing anything. But that was kind of my rock bottom, and unfortunately I didn't go straight from there. I was in therapy. At that time, therapy didn't particularly give me a strong sense of self because I wasn't in that place. The therapy I had at that time was behavioural, and that may be something that you find. Behavioural work can be done in therapy, in treatment, or it can be done on your own. I know a lot of people who make the decision to sort themselves out, eating disorder wise themselves, who say, right, you know, I've had enough of this, I'm going to start eating and I'm going to, you know, gain the weight or do whatever I need to do. And whilst it isn't always as simple as that, quite often you will find that most people, and this is personal experience, but also a lot of other people I talk to, they make those initial decisions themselves. They say enough is enough, right? I need to actually start to eat, I need to figure out a way to do this. And they will either do that with a therapist, in treatment, in hospital, outpatient, with family. They may even find a way to do it themselves. I know people who have sat down and said, I need to do this for myself. Everybody needs support from that. once those kind of behaviours have maybe kind of been, they don't have to be completely better, but maybe stabilised, you will then be looking at therapy in terms of building up your past in some form of chronological order. That when you've experienced trauma, and I say trauma is going through an eating disorder, is going through mental health problems, that you need to work to understand what's occurred over the past however many years. For me, it was about understanding what went on through my childhood. It was about understanding how I interacted with my family, with my mum as a child. It was about the impact the gymnastics had on me. It was the impact of the pressure to kind of be this beautiful, perfect, intelligent, amazing person all in one go, which a lot came from myself, the pressure myself, and that perfectionist nature, the pressure to feel like you should be doing so much more, that you should, could, would be. Move that on then to a relationship that became incredibly destructive, and then, you know, where Rachel was basically lost, and that's kind of what I say a lot, that by then developing eating disorder, it wasn't dealing with the problem, it was a coping mechanism, but the more I dealt with it through my anorexia, the further away I became from myself. And so part of that process in therapy was identifying who I was as a young person, identifying myself pre-morbidity. So when I was sort of 16, 17, who was I before I became anorexic? Who was I before some of those events occurred that maybe triggered that eating disorder? And I spent probably about 6 years with somebody after my behaviours had stabilised, and that didn't mean that I didn't have my moments throughout that time, that I didn't have a slip up with anorexic behaviours or with self-injury or what have you, but it was very much about understanding myself. It was understanding how I was in the world, how I understood myself, how I understood how I communicated with others, how they understood me. It was about listing what I liked. What did I think I liked? What kind of things make me happy? What kind of things give me inspiration? Obviously, some of those things are difficult to find when you've been very depressed and have experienced trauma and have experienced your eating disorder, but it's learning to be like, who is Rachel? You know, who am I? What kind of person am I? What are the things that make me me? What are the things that make me unique and are uniquely me? It's about reclaiming yourself. It's about building yourself back up. It's about building up in that rubble where you stand, is building the walls up again, is putting in things into life that give you joy, give you happiness, building friendships again. You know, all of these things get destroyed when you become ill, and as hard as it is to build those things back up, it's also incredibly rewarding. So if I take a few examples of I had to rebuild my friendships, okay, I had to be the one to get in touch with people and say, can we go out? And they would maybe say no, and I'd say, can we meet for coffee? Can we do this? And it was slowly building those relationships back. By building those relationships back, it means interacting with others, it means engaging with others. Therapy can help you with some of that. It can help you deal with some of your anxieties, social anxieties, the anxieties concerning rejection. And I know a lot of people struggle with feeling like if they have plans one day and then a friend maybe cancels on them, how difficult that feels for them. So I guess it's about allowing yourself to be human, allowing yourself to try and to not always necessarily have success. The people who care for you and have been there for you through your illness, hopefully you can sort of rekindle some of your friendships from that. Your own therapy can also not only help you build your friendships, build your surroundings, your environment, it helps you learn to appreciate yourself. It helps you understand that the eating disorder behaviours, the feelings you had towards your body, towards yourself, towards the person you have. Some of the common themes around people with eating disorder problems are obviously self-hatred of the body, focusing on certain parts of the body, feelings of illness, ugliness, feelings that this will never change, feelings that they'll always be ill, that they could never be happy unless they're thin, even though they never feel thin, that they're disgusting, they're vile, that they deserve to be punished, that they're not worthy of good things, they're not worthy of love, they're not worthy of a nice life, a good quality life, that they are underneath all of that, this horrible, bad person who does these horrible, awful things, and when that's at the core of someone's belief system, if that's what you at this present moment feel towards yourself, that isn't just going to go away. That takes work. You have to understand where those feelings of hatred are coming from, and by understanding things such as an experience that you've had and what you've taken from that. Something I always said about after being raped was like, I almost took all of that anger that someone took out on me, all of that hatred somebody took out on me by abusing me that way. I felt like I became like a capsule for it, that it was literally being thrown at me, and it didn't have anywhere to go. It couldn't be in the person who'd raped me. It had to be in me, and so I was the holder of all this negativity, of all this dark sort of energy that just was destroying me. And through recovery, I never really felt like it was my fault anyway, but I sort of learned that I just wasn't this person, that actually who I was a strong, caring and courageous person. Therapy helped me understand that who I was okay, that how I did things was okay, that although I'm not perfect and nobody is, that I'm okay, that by dealing with the things that got me ill, I stopped taking them out on myself. And I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to rebuilding yourself and reclaiming yourself. It's about saying, I'm too precious to, I don't want to self-harm on myself, because I deserve more than that, and I'm not going to deal with this situation by starving myself, because I actually deserve more. Often in therapy, and well, certainly for me, I would hear the response perhaps of how it would feel if I was to do those things to myself. I was challenged to look at it from a different perspective. I was challenged to think about things in a way that would say, well, how would you feel if it was this person? If your best friend was feeling these things, or this had happened to them, you know, how would you talk to them? How would you deal with that? By just giving me a voice, therapy let go of an awful lot of the self-hatred. By just being able to say the words, just being able to say the things that happened to me, to say the things that had hurt me, to say the things that had scarred me, was a huge part of letting go, and letting go of the self-hatred. And through the process of therapy, I learnt to understand myself. You gain huge amounts of insight by going into therapy, huge amounts of insight. You start to understand yourself in ways that most people do not have any idea. I can't exactly articulate what that is unless you're going through it, but even the people who I know who have never been ill, I often think I'm kind of glad I was ill, because I gained so much in 6 years. I learned so much about myself. I learned, just so much about the world, so much about how I perceive things, how people perceive me, how I set a boundary, how I understand what is my issues, what is somebody else's issues. It helped me interact and communicate more effectively. It helped me rebuild skills so that if I was very distressed, that I could look after myself. So rather than going and hurting myself, I could use techniques to soothe myself, that I could build up tasks or skills, or words, or ways of communicating to others when I was distressed. I was taught how to recognise when my mood was shifting. I was taught to recognise what the sort of key points were that would signal a relapse. I was taught how to fix things that were starting to fall apart again. I was taught how to stay steady in one place for a period of time before I moved on to the next. And these are all the things that therapy is giving you, and in turn giving you those skills, giving you those attributes, allowing you to discover who you are in therapy with somebody else. You pretty much understand who you are, and it's kind of, you know, something I always say, that I kind of, now I'm the age I am, I kind of know what I want and I know what I don't want, and that sense of self, the way I feel towards myself now, is stable, it's consistent, it doesn't particularly shift. And whilst there have been things that throw that, who I am as a person, I feel secure enough in. I don't hate myself. I don't have those feelings of disgust, fear, hatred, loathing. I feel comfortable in who I am. Of course I've got my insecurities, everybody does, but therapy has given me so much, and I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful that I've been able to explore who I am, both pre-morbidity, you know, in the illness, after the illness, whatever, that it feels okay to say, I love myself, I love who I am, I want to embrace who I am, I want others to learn to love themselves, and that for me is kind of a key part of therapy. Yes, you need to let go of behaviours, yes, you need to stop hurting yourself, but you also need to reclaim yourself and rebuild yourself and know who you are. Alright guys, I hope this is okay, and I'll see you next week. Okay.